chilloutrecords.
What's up, my people? I hope you're having a fantastic weekend. I'm your host, SG. Welcome to Chill Out Records. Holy crap. We have a topic today. Let me get this music out of the way. All right. Thank you for checking out the channel. We are at 121 subscribers. Each and every one of you guys, I want to salute you guys. Man, I cannot believe I am here. 121, right? I know some of you over there with like 500 or 1,000 subscribers, you know, are like, oh, 100, those are rookie numbers, man. You got to pump those numbers up. But 121, I am satisfied. I'm happy. Obviously, if I can get more, that's great. But I am just happy to have each and every one of you guys over here subscribing and supporting me. It is because of you I am here. So what is today's topic? Today's topic is house inflation. Will I ever in my life, millennials, Gen Zs, the young people, the younger generation, will we ever own a home is the question. Because look, you and me, we're the peasants, right? We just want a place to live. We just want a place that we can say we're not going to get evicted. Our landlord's not going to wake up tomorrow and say, oh, I'm selling the house, you got to move out. You know, we just don't want to go through that process. That's why you and I, the peasants, we want to buy a house. That's the reason we want to buy a house. We just want stability in our lives. That's the only reason we want to buy a house. But the problem is the top 5-10% of the elites. These guys look at houses as investments. Ooh, investments. I want to buy this property so that I can, make a profit. I can flip the house and make a profit out of this. They're looking at our livelihoods as investments. And this is what's happening to the country. I mean, I'm just shocked at the house prices here in the UK. And it also depends on the location. It depends on the community around the house. All these factors need to be taken into consideration, and the prices are just climbing at rates that even your salary bonuses and your every time you get like a bump up in salary, it's just not enough to catch up with the rate at which the house prices are climbing. It's madness. It's mental. And then to top it up, even if you do manage to meet that deposit, let's say they're asking for 10 or 20% deposit of the house, right? And then you go to the bank or you go to the mortgage lender and you ask for a mortgage, the interest rates that they will give you, maybe for the first 2 years at a fixed rate, you are going to be... So we're going to run some numbers together. And I'm going to show you how messed up this whole this isn't even about your livelihood anymore. It's not even, it's for the rich and the elite. This is like a game. This is like a way for them to just make money. You and we just want a place to live so that we don't get thrown out on the freaking street. That's all we want. We're not looking at a house because, oh yeah, I'm going to make some money out of this. Nah. We just want a place to live. That's all I'm asking for. A place to live. But we can't even freaking get that, man. How messed up is this? I mean, I'm looking at the house price and this is mental. Look at this. Let me just show you guys this, right? I'm just extremely pissed off. I'm sorry, but I'm just looking at some of these houses. All right, let me zoom in so you guys can see this clearly, okay? Look at this. It's a 2-bedroom terraced house, a 2-bed. Going for 379,000 here in London. It's so funny that I want to kill myself. This is just messed up, man. And then you buy a house that's smaller than a prison cell. I was looking at prison cells and I was like, wait, Sam, hey, what's up, Sam? What are you saying? A place to live with smaller rooms and way too high prices. Man, the room sizes. Let's talk about the room sizes. Okay, look, I understand. I understand in the UK the weather sucks. It's really cold and everything. I get that. I get that. Okay. And maybe a smaller house is going to reduce your heating costs and everything. But I mean, to a certain extent, I mean, okay, this is at least this is kind of decent. But you look at some of the houses over here and you look at their rooms and you're like, how is someone supposed to live? A prison cell is better off than investing in property here. That's how mental this is. This is going for 379,950 pounds. Let's convert that to Kenya shillings, shall we? Let's do that right now. By the way, speaking of converting to Kenya shillings, do you know what the exchange rate is right now? I just woke up this morning and I checked the exchange rate. 170. 100. I'm not lying, man. I'm not making this up. I've never seen £1 equate to 170 shillings. So 379, 950, what? 950, 950. You multiply that by 170. That is 64 million Kenya shillings. And that's not the effed up part yet. We haven't gotten to the fisting part yet. This isn't the price is one thing. The price is one thing, okay? This is mental. When I look at these numbers, it nothing makes any sense to me. Like, how is this even legal, right? Imagine you're a normal citizen. Do you know what the average salary is? Let's start off with the average salary in the UK. Okay, let's look at that number here, right? Average salary in the UK, and we're gonna go by locations. Okay, so let's start off with this location here where I'm living. Okay, which is West Drayton. Okay, let's look at West Drayton. This is madness, right? I was looking at this yesterday. Look at this, right? The average salary in West Drayton is £30,000. 30,942. £30,000 annual salary is the average annual salary. Okay. So maybe you're thinking, okay, you know what? Fine. If the house is going for, let's say, 350,000, right? And your annual salary is 30,000, right? 30,000, right? 1, 2, 3. You divide that by your annual salary. Oh, you'll pay it off in 11 years. Oh, that's not so bad. That is not so bad. But hang on a second. 30,000 is your gross annual salary. You have to take into account taxes. You've got to put some food in your mouth, right? So after taking out all the taxes and everything and your expenses and your monthly costs and whatever, utilities, whatever, maybe out of 30,000, and I'm being realistic here because I'm talking from experience. I was once on that 30K salary, right? Out of that 30K, maybe if you're lucky, you'll manage to save 10,000. I'm not even lying to you guys, man. 10,000 is what you can save. Right. So 350,000, divide that by 10. What are you left with? 35 years. You'll be paying this off for 35 years. Now, I know some of you think, okay, 35 years you'll be paying. So that means you'll be working for the next 35 years, guaranteed working for the next 35 years. And you need to be fine. Maybe your salary will go up, maybe a couple of percentages here and there. Fine. 35, maybe let's make it 30 years. You'll be paying it off for 30 years. Okay, fine. But let me ask you something. You need to take a mortgage out to pay for this, because obviously you're not going to be having the money up front for this, right? Because the process that's involved in buying a house here in the UK is you talk to the sales agent. The sales agent, you negotiate the price. Okay, this is the price. Then you go to a separate entity, which is a mortgage lender or someone who's lending out money, right? You go to them and you tell them, look, this is how much I can put as a deposit, 10%, and you can give me maybe the remaining 90%. They'll give you that 90% at an interest rate for the first 2 years fixed which might not even be what the market interest rate is. And let's not even talk about interest right now, because that's another thing that's going to screw you over. So I did this. There's this interest rate calculator over here, right? So you come here, you're saying you're a first-time buyer. The house is valued at, let's say, 350,000. Okay, 350. 1, 2, 3. I don't know if I can zoom in so you guys can see this clearly. Yes, there you go. I think that's clear enough, right? So the house is valued at 350,000. How much do you think you can put a deposit at? How much? Maybe 20,000, 30,000. Ideally, you'd have to put 10%, right? So you'd need 35,000. You need to put down 35 grand. With your 30K salary, how many years would you need to put down to save up 30,000 pounds with your 30K salary? How many years would you need? Someone? Anyone who can do the math over here? Here's the other messed up thing. Let's say you're saving up for the house. Let's say you take 2-3 years. No, you can't. Let's be realistic here. Let's say you take let's say 2 years. In 2 years, do you think this house is still going to be worth 350,000? Nah. You see how messed up this is? How is this even helping us? We want a place. All we want. Look, I know some of you are lucky. Maybe mom and dad, they bought houses back then, 1980s, 1990s, when houses were maybe 40,000 pounds, 40, 50,000. There wasn't like a house that was going for like 100K, a reasonably decent house. You could get it for like 40, 50,000 pounds. That's like what, 5 million, 6 million. Today, it's not even the math doesn't even make any sense, because look at this. Okay, let's finish this. Well, let's do one thing at a time, right? So you've put down a deposit of let's say maybe your mom and dad have given you some money, right? They're like, okay, here you go, son. Let's add some money so that you can put in for the deposit for the house, and then you just mortgage out the rest. So let's say you do find a miraculous way of getting the 10%. You have the 35,000, right, as your 10% deposit, and you take your term for, let's say, 25 years. Now, the current interest rate right now in the UK is at 4.25%. Let's calculate what that is. Let me zoom out a little bit. So this is what you will be paying monthly. You will be paying £1,700 every month for the next 25 years. But you know what this is not showing you? This is not showing you how much your total interest is going to be on top of your principal, your actual house value. So let's say out of the 35,000, out of the 350,000, right? You put down 35,000. So 35,000 is what you're putting down. So you're borrowing 315 from your lender. All right. This is what you're going to be paying. If you do the math and you divide this by for the 25 years, so you divide this by 25 and then you divide this by 12, ideally you should be paying 1,050 per month. But according to this calculator, it's telling you to pay 1,706 because there's interest, obviously, of 4.25%. Let's do 1,706 times 12 for the year and then times 25. That comes to 511,000. That's 511,000. So you're borrowing 311 or 300 whatever that figure was, but after your interest and everything, what you're paying back is 511,000. Can you see how messed up this is? There's a short that explains this. This guy explained this perfectly. I'm going to play this short. This guy said it so perfectly. All right, let me play this. I hope I don't get...
I buy a house. I'm a simple person, a hard-working person. Me and my wife are both working very hard. We buy a home for $150,000, and there's a 19% interest.
19% interest. 19. He's talking about 19. Right now, the interest rates have come down a little bit. There was a time interest rates were like 0.1%. This was during COVID. Imagine those people who bought during COVID and then their interest rates were 0.1%. But that was for the fixed 2 years. After 2 years, what the mortgage lender will do is they'll change that interest rate to the market interest rate. So if at that point it was 0.1 or whatever 1% it was, after 2 years fixed term, we're in 2023, those people who took mortgages out in 2020 or 2021 at 1% or whatever, they paid for the first 2 years at a very low interest rate. If they were smart enough and they managed to save up lump sums and paid off more money, they're sitting and they're laughing. They're enjoying life right now, right? After 2020 or whatever, 2022, 2023, this year, interest rates like 4.25%. Your mortgage lender says, okay, so your first 2 years fixed term is over. Now we're going to use the market interest rate, and you're going up to 4.25% on your remaining mortgage. How much do you think you're going to be paying monthly? Some people's payments, monthly payments, went up from maybe £500 a month to maybe $1,200, like almost double. It was mental, and that's how some people lost houses. So let me play this again. Just listen to this guy.
I buy a house. I'm a simple person, a hard-working person. Me and my wife are both working very hard. We buy a home for $150,000, and there's a 19% interest attached to that, which means that over a period of a 30-year mortgage, a 20-year mortgage, I wind up paying for that house if I live, if I continue my job, if I'm employed over a period of 20 to 30 years, I wind up paying at least $280,000. The worst thing about it, I must pay off the interest before I pay the principal. So it means that for the first 15 years, I'm paying off what? Interest. And suppose I lose my job. I lose my job, my wife loses her job, I get sick, she gets sick. What happens? They come and take the house from me, even though I paid off $150,000.
Imagine that, how messed up that is. You, first of all, you're locked in. You're locked in at that point. No, Sab, it's okay if you're on and off. It's okay. You're locked in at that point. You and your wife, whatever, you're paying off the mortgage. Even that mortgage, he's talking about 19%. Here in the UK, 4.25, and you're saying, oh, that's pretty low. But it still adds up. It still adds up over 20 years, 20, 30 years. That's almost double the price of the house, man. Your interest on top of a house that's worth 300K is 100 or 200,000. And the messed up part is the first 15 to 20 years of that mortgage repayment is just the interest. Just the interest. You get sick after 15 years. What's going to happen in the next 5 years? You don't know. You don't know if you're going to even live for the next 5 years. You're paying off your interest first. And then after 15 to 20 years of paying off that interest on top of what you've borrowed, then you start paying off what you've borrowed. How is this legal? This doesn't even make any sense to me, man. How are we just like, yeah, this is nice, man. This is nice. I'm comfortable like this. Will we ever own a home? Will we ever own a home? It doesn't make any sense. I mean, these figures, house prices just don't make sense. Okay, fine. Maybe one thing I could take into consideration maybe is maybe the government has stopped building new houses. Right? I understand population is going up like crazy. There's a lot of population growth. The population just been the world is at like 8 billion right now. Right? Okay, I understand we are growing in numbers, and maybe the government's not building enough houses. Maybe they've run out of land. I don't know what the situation is. Maybe the new immigrants that are coming into the country are getting the houses. So they could also, that could also be another thing. So all of these factors, but the rate at which the house prices are climbing up, I mean, I understand the basic principles of supply and demand. Maybe the demand is so high to the point where, okay, fine, the only way that we can stop people from buying houses is just hike up the prices. But I just keep going back to how the prices have gotten out of control, completely out of control. And then on top of that, the interest rate it's madness. How will we ever own a home? Right? Are we just going to be renting for the rest of our lives? I mean, of course, yes, there are benefits to renting. If I'm going to get into a house and a mortgage for the next 25 years of my life, if I even know I'm going to, if you're 30, next 25, 75? You, you're going to be paying your mortgage off till like, let's say 55, 60 years old. Will you even live till 60? I don't know, man. And yet you have to be working until you're 60. Isn't it just the same as renting then? At least with the advantages of renting, you don't have to deal with lawyers, you don't have to deal with fees. Anything breaks, you just call the landlord, let the landlord deal with that shit. Maybe there is an advantage of just renting then. Maybe just renting is the way to go. Because at this rate, we will never be able to own our own homes. And then if you can't own your own home, how do you start your own family? I don't know, man. There was this inflation calculator, this website. This is from the Bank of England. Whatever. So what they do is they say, give us a price of an item back in, let's say, 1990, and they have their special formula, and they can calculate what the actual price of that item should be in this year. Okay? Regardless of all the other factors, price hiking and all that kind of stuff, but just using basic inflation, if something was worth 10 pounds in 1990, how much would it be worth today? 23 pounds. Following the basic inflation principle and calculations that they've talked about how they calculate it. I'm not going to go into all those details, but they've said, okay, if let's say a house was worth 40,000, and 40,000. I was shocked to hear this. I'll show you a video of a guy who was talking about he bought a house back in was it 1990 or something, 2000 or whatever, for 40,000. Right? How much would it be worth today? The figure here I'm seeing is 92,000. Okay, maybe you don't believe me. Maybe this site is lying to us. Okay. Let's go back to this house, for instance, right? This house is going for 379, right? Now, the good thing with Zoopla, what they do is they can show you the listing history. What is a listing history? It will show you when was the house last sold. Now, you can see here, 5th of April, 2001, this house was sold for 98,000. Okay, so in 2001, this house was worth 98,000. Okay. So let's go into the inflation calculator and put in 98,000 and select the year to be 2001. Okay? And let's calculate what it should be worth today, March 2023. The figure here I'm seeing is 171,635. 171. But the value of the house is 379. How? That doesn't make sense. Okay, maybe they had done some improvements. I mean, how much more improvements can you really do so that the house goes up by like what, 200 pounds? 200,000? What? It doesn't make any sense, man. None of this makes any sense. So it always comes down to the question of like, will we ever be able to own our own homes? I was watching all of these documentaries and how these people are. I'm not going to play the whole clip, but just hear the starting of this young lady was talking about.
Just give us the perspective from your generation.
Well, not only am I priced out by Liam, but I also grew up as a young carer. So there is absolutely nobody that wants to see social care properly funded more than I do. But there is just no way that it's fair to ask young people to give up more of their income to protect the housing wealth of older people, when young people know that a lot of us are never going to buy a home. Resolution Foundation research suggests that a third of millennials will be renting from the cradle to the grave.
Shit. A third of millennials will be renting from the cradle to the grave. Just think about that for a second. Imagine for the rest of your life, all you will ever be doing is just renting, moving from house to house, renting. Maybe spend 10 years here, spend 5 years there, move again. You're living like a freaking nomad.
60% of private renters have absolutely no savings whatsoever.
Yeah, 60% of private renters. 60%.
You know, there are not...
Like, you can't even, like, the cost of living here, especially in London, is so exorbitant that, right, even if you're making like a lot of money, 100K, even almost 100K is okay, 100K is like really high. Let's say on the upper end, you're making 50, 60,000 pounds per annum. You'll still have no savings. There's no savings. Your saving potential, unless you're maybe living in a freaking small cubicle of a toilet, maybe then you can manage to save something. But it's almost impossible.
Not 250,000.
And salaries aren't even going up as much as you'd want them to go up. I mean, go talk to your boss and tell them about, the cost of things have gone up. I can't afford A, B, C, and D. Can you, maybe give me a raise? And your boss is going to look at you like, what? Oh, you want a raise? There's the door. I'll go and find someone else who will work for less.
Households a year, ready, willing and able to buy homes at current unaffordable prices. We're not going to be able to fix this crisis by relying on unaffordable market homes. We're not going to be able to fix this crisis through measures like Help to Buy, which just...
This actually reminds me of something. There was a time I was on this job. I was working for this company, and according to me, I thought, okay, these guys are paying me pretty well. I talked to a couple of people around me, and there was one of my neighbors who was working at a pizzeria. He was working at a chef at a pizzeria as a chef, and he told me how much he was making, and I was completely shocked. I was like, "How the freaking hell are you making what I'm making? We're in complete two different professions, and it's like I'm making what you're making. This doesn't make any sense, So it also comes down to, do you know what your value is? Right? Obviously your employer is not going to, pay. They always want to hire you at the cheapest rate that they can get. So that initial negotiation of your salary is so important. But I was completely shocked. I quit on the same day. I was like, fuck you, man. How can you freaking pay me this shit? How can you be paying me what a pizzeria dude, someone who's working as a chef? How can you pay me this? This is madness. He's not even gone to university. He's not even gotten any degree. He just makes pizzas. I'm not discrediting people who make pizza. If that's what you're doing for a living, maybe you're well off. Maybe it's good, fine, whatever. But I mean, if you're like a surgeon, for instance, I heard top-notch surgeons are making 40 to 50,000 per annum. Maybe they go up to 60,000. Imagine you've studied for 5 years of your life and you're making the same salary as what someone who's working at a pizzeria is making. How would you feel? It's madness. The salaries are not going up as fast as the way the house prices are going up, the way the inflation is going up. And here's another thing about inflation. I didn't know this. I never knew this, but this is actually true. When the UK says the inflation is at like 11% or 10%, do you know how that figure is calculated? Do you know? They take the values of everything that people are buying, the consumers are buying, everything. Let's say, for instance, headphones and milk and bread. They take the prices of everything. They look at what their prices were last year and they look at the prices this year. They see that percentage increase and then they take all those percentages and average it out to 1% and they tell you this is the average, this is the inflation rate in the UK. But that's messed up because let me ask you something. Do you buy headphones every day? Do you buy furniture every day? Do you buy things like, a studio monitor or something, a laptop keyboard or something? Do you buy a laptop every day? No, you don't. What you buy every day is bread, milk, sugar, honey, or, all these basic amenities that you want to eat. These are the things you buy every day, isn't it? These are the things that you need to look at and say, okay, how much milk, for instance, had climbed up by 40%. 40%. A couple of years ago, milk over here in the UK was going for like, I think, a pound for a 5 pound or a 4 pint a carton of milk was going for, I think, £1. Today it's going for £2. It went up by almost 50% or 100% or something like that, right? So you add all the items that you buy, add all those items up and look at the prices before and today and see how much, if you track how much money you spend in a month last year compared to this year, that is your inflation value. And you'll see that that value is higher than what the government is telling you, 11%. It's not 11%. It's actually 30 or 40%. And the messed up thing is when you go to your employer and you've worked for a year, you've slaved for this guy for a year, and then at the end of the year, they'll just give you like a 5% bump. Oh, you've been such a good employee. Here, take 5%. Like, what? 5%. And inflation is at 11. No, inflation is at like 40%. It's mad. You will never be able to save up money ever at this rate. Because I tried it. 2 years ago, I was looking at some listings over here on Zoopla and I was like, oh man, okay, you know what? I mean, 2 years ago, this house probably was worth probably less. I think there was a listing information here. Let's go back to the listing information. Let's see if we can see back in 2023. No, 2001, it was going for 100K, man. 2001, it was going for 100K. This is madness, man. So let's say, for instance, 2020. Let's assume maybe 2020 was going for maybe 200,000, right? 2020, you say, oh, you've seen a listing is going for 200K. Fine. You know what? I'm going to save up 20%, 10%. That's 20,000 pounds. I'll save up 20,000 pounds in 2 years or a year, let's say, if you're lucky. So you starve yourself. You don't go out with your friends. You stop all the fun activities in your life. You just save up, save up, save up. You come back in, you log into the website, and the house has gone up by freaking 100,000. You're like, now your new deposit that you need to save up is 30,000. You're like, what? What the freaking hell? Who's messaging me right now? Why did I turn off my notifications here? Man, it's just crazy. It's just crazy, man. So I don't know. I look at these things and I'm like, will we ever own a home? Okay. I think I've ranted enough about this stuff. There's one other way. There's one other thing that we can look at. Okay. And I think some people have kind of seen it. There are a couple of houses here in the UK that go on auction. Let me stop sharing my screen. So there are a couple of houses that go for auction. Okay. What's auction? Auction is basically maybe the seller wants to quickly sell the property. You know, they don't want to go through the whole process of putting it on the market because it's too lengthy. They just want to get rid of the property. Maybe they're moving countries or something. You know, something like that. So they put the house on auction, and normally when it goes on auction, it's very cheap. And when I say cheap, it's extremely cheap. Now remember, folks, cheap today is expensive tomorrow. So I looked up about, you know, properties on auction and all that kind of stuff. So let me show you this website. Let me show you this link over here. 1 second here. Look at this here. 10 homes under £10,000. 10 homes. Let me repeat that. 10 homes under £10,000. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. This can't be real. Are you for real? Yeah, check this out. Let me show you guys. 10 homes for 10,000 or less. Wow, this is a deal and a half. 10,000. Holy shit, I can move in tomorrow. It's not that easy. Because, let me show you guys this. Okay, let's look at the listing first, okay? They're talking about too good to be true, not so. If you're after a renovation project, investment opportunity, or holiday home, here are 10 properties for sale for 10,000 or less. Wow, it's just amazing. Holy crap, 10,000. I already have that in my account. Let me just move in today. Wow, a 3-bedroom house for sale in Grimsby. £10,000 guide price. Now, when they say guide price, what that means is it goes on auction. You join the auction. There's a couple of paperwork that you need to do. You need to have your own surveyor to go and check out the house. You need to go and view the house. So there's also these costs involved. You go, you check out the house. Maybe you like the house. You're like, oh, this is a pretty cool place. 10,000. That's not so bad. So you go into the auction. Now there are going to be a couple of people at that auction that are going to be, saying their price for the house. They'll be that guy in the center with the gavel. He'll be like, okay, going for 10,000 once, going for 10,000 twice. Something like that. So, and then there are going to be people bidding for the house at the same time, and it's all going to be live. Now, if you guys have never gone to an auction, I've never gone to an auction, but I've read up about it. Is once that person hits that gavel, and let's say you put a bid in for 20,000. Let's say from 10,000 is the starting point. And then people have been bidding because he'll be like, can I hear 10,100? Can I hear 10,500? Can I hear 11,000? Can I hear 12,000? They'll keep going up. People will keep bidding. Let's say you put a bid up for 20,000, right? The guy, once that person hits that gavel, ding, sold. You need to make sure within 28 to 30 days, I think, you need to have that money in your account. Okay, that's obviously number one, because if you don't have that money, you have breached contract, and they're coming for your ass. So you need to have the money in your account. So if you're let's say you're asking lenders to give you that money, you need to have that money in your account ready before you go at that auction and do this. And you're thinking, but wow, still, man, that's amazing. 20 grand for a 3-bed. That's an opportunity, man. I can't throw this away. But remember, folks, cheap today is expensive tomorrow. So yes, there are all these, and I'm going to show you in a few minutes, all these amazing properties. Yeah, they look a bit rough. There's a lot of work to go into and go and fix it. Maybe some of these don't even have windows. And I'm going to show you all the possible risks of buying a property off auction. And there are a lot. Okay? Well, obviously, the first risk I've already told you is you don't even have this money when you go into the auction. You could end up paying more. They could keep bidding on and on and on. Maybe the house price ends up going to maybe 50, 60, 100,000. Right? So you end up paying more for what it's actually valued at. And what do I mean by actually valued at? How can we value this at 10,000? Because there could be other problems with the house. Okay? There could be other problems with the house. So check this out, guys. Let me show you this. Problems with buying a house at auction. Okay? What could be the problems? What could be the risks at buying at auction? I mean, 10,000 pounds. How much is that in Kenya shillings? $1 million? Is that $1 million Kenya shillings? Let me see that. Hold on a second. 1 second. Let me refresh this. Let's say 10,000 times, is it 170? Yeah, 1.7 million. So 2 million Kenya shillings. Imagine you buy a house completely not brand new, but it's kind of standing, and you buy it outright and you're the owner with 1.7 million here in the UK. How amazing would that be, right? But here are the risks. Okay. So what are the risks? Okay, what are the main risks? Okay, let's look at some of them. The 3 main risks is not having enough information about the property, whether about the structure itself or the legal aspect of it. Remember, the legal aspect of the property, it could be in some court case or some maybe a previous tenant has filed some dispute against the property. You don't know all of this information. Not being prepared in advance, particularly having your finances in place. If you reach that point at the auction and you've made a bid for an amount that you don't even have the money for yet, you're screwed. Getting carried away during the auction itself and overpaying for the property. There could be some other people at the same property that are also dying to buy this property as well, because maybe they've seen something that you haven't seen and they just keep bidding. Next thing you know, you're at 200,000 and you're like, I could have just bought a freaking brand new or a good proper place for that kind of money. So that could also be a risk there. So let's just say it up front. Auctions attract 2 main types of properties: normal properties and problem properties. Normal properties, there's nothing wrong with these houses. The owner just chose to sell by auction for the convenience that the process offers. Nothing to worry about here for the buyer. But Is that really the case? 9 times out of 10, I don't think so. There's always a problem. The owner, so problem properties, the owner chose to sell these by auction because the house has something wrong with it, which made it difficult to sell on the open market. If the open market in that area for that property is maybe going for 200,000 or 170,000, 150,000, but the guy is saying a guide price of 10,000, I'm telling you there's something wrong, and you need to freaking open your eyes before you set foot into this property or even think about buying this property. Okay? Problem properties. Where was that list? Let me show you guys the list. Here we go. Right. So, examples of problem properties you may find at auction. Structural issues. This is common sense. I mean, you with your naked eyes, you can physically go there and say, okay, let me survey the property. Let me physically look at it. Let's see what the house looks like before I go into this auction. Yeah, you will see some problems with the flooring. Maybe the windows are missing, some doors are missing, some floor is having some holes or whatever, and then you need to now try and evaluate how much is this going to cost me to fix all of these things? Is this even livable? Can I even buy this and move in today? Non-standard construction. That's typical. If your building is not following the policies in that area or building policies or whatever, you're screwed. You're completely screwed. And if you get into an auction and buy this place, that responsibility now lies on you. And this could involve maybe completely tearing down the entire building and reconstructing it to follow the construction standard. Okay? Short leases. What does this mean? What is a lease? Ooh, man. When I heard about this and I read up about this, some houses could be on a leasehold and not a freehold. So what is a freehold? Freehold is you buy this property, when you pay up for the property, you get a title deed and you are the owner, you are the landlord. You don't owe anyone anything after that at that point. But a leasehold is for a limited time, you're the owner, and then when that time ends, you have to go begging to the real landlord and ask him to extend your lease. And then you're at the mercy of that landlord and say, hey, please, can you extend this lease? He might not extend the lease, so you have to move out. Or to extend the lease, you're going to pay through your butt. So when they say short leases, maybe it's a beautiful house, and then the lease left on the house is maybe 3 years. You overlook this, you're so screwed. You're so screwed. Oh my God. You're like, oh wow, I bought a house for 10K. Then you go 3 years down the line, you've spent all this money just renovating the house. And then 3 years down the line, you're told the real landlord comes in and says, hey, do you want to extend the lease? It's going to cost you 200,000. Japanese knotweed. I don't know what that means. I don't want to go into that. Problem tenants. Maybe they're tenants in the property you need to deal with. But I think that's if you're buying a house that is like maybe an apartment or something like that, I guess. Maybe it's been damaged by fire. Maybe it's been damaged by flood. What about the area that you're buying in? Who knows? Maybe the landlord, the person you're buying it from, hasn't told you that every year, maybe June, July, when the rains come in, this entire area just gets flooded. You don't know that. Roof problems, maybe the roof is leaking. Neighboring property issues. Maybe your house that you're buying isn't a problem, but your neighbor has a problem. Maybe the tenants inside there are giving you a headache. Maybe their house needs to go under construction for the next 1 year. They need to tear down the entire building, and now you need to live in a house and listen to that construction for a year. I mean, there's all these issues that you need to, there's so many things that you need to think about just so that you can be a homeowner. It is just mental. It is mental how this process is so difficult. Okay. I don't know what this is, or properties needing complete renovation. I've already talked about that. Dry rot or wood rot, which is the worst situation to be in. Imagine all the main pillars of this house have been infected by termites, or they've been infected by water damage, and they're all rotting, and this building could just collapse on you in a couple of years. Oh my God. So how do you mitigate these risks? You get a survey done. So you have to pay a surveyor, obviously. So you see a house, maybe it's going for a guide price of 10K. Get a surveyor done. Call the surveyor, pay the surveyor, tell him go in, have a look at this property. So that's the surveyor side. Then there's the legal side of things. So there's also legal things that you need to look at. And obviously, the buyer is obligated to send you this information. They need to give you this information. But it's all going to be legal, technical jargon. You and me, the average citizen, we're not going to be able to decipher all this legal shit, right? We'll have to hire a lawyer. And you know how much lawyers cost. You'll have to hire a lawyer. He'll have to look at the paperwork and then advise you and tell you, okay, yeah, this is the problem with the house, and this is how much it's going to cost you. It could be in a legal battle with the tenant, a previous tenant. Maybe the previous tenant has, put up a dispute. You made me live in this place and it had mold and whatever, so I'm going to take you to court and sue you for like £100,000. Now, the previous buyer sells you the house. Now you have to fight with the new tenant, even if you've never met this tenant before. Can you believe this? So there are all these risks involved. So either way, this guy's holding his head is a perfect example of what you can go through. This is exactly what you'd look like. So yeah, risks with the legals, exactly. So I've already talked about this stuff. So yes. Oh, guys, thank you so much for checking out the channel. I mean, this is all I wanted to talk about. So I hope I have given you guys enough information to just think about it. Look at the situation that we're in right now. Is it really advisable to move into your own home, to buy your own home? Will we ever be able to buy one? With the way the interest rates are, with the way the house prices are going up, with the way the houses look so crappy. There's nothing else to say. All right, guys. I guess I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bullshitting 101 with Sab and Reen. Peace. Peace, guys. Peace.